the other questions that I have is in when we're making a Gans of a Gans. So should I dictate to the Gans if I've made some containers where I've got coils on the outside and some glass partitions, should I use a wet Gans or a dry Gans to make my other Gans?
First of all, you don't need a coil. You can use a coil and a Gans. That you can do it. It's like you put two, what do you call it, nano-coated plate and non-nano-coated plate, or two nano-coated plates, or two different nano-coated plates, or one single nano-coated plate and one metal. You can play the same game with the Gans. The limitation is the expectation and understanding. But be aware, putting a wall, putting a concrete wall has no meaning because the field flows across. You decide to put a coil, nano-coated on one side, and a Gans of CO2 or a Gans of copper oxide or whatever on the other side, and connect them. If you can connect, if you understood how to get energy from the dry Gans, that you can connect it to the coil, it's perfect. Why not? See what you collect in the middle, but understand the mass gravity ratio changed, what field you expect to create in the middle. You have a CO2 Gans in one side, that's what? CO2, 12 plus 32, 44 mass. 10% up and down. Anything from 34, at that rate about 50%. Let's say anything from 30 to 50, magnetic field strength sits in the spectrum of that package you made. On the other side, you put copper or zinc. Look at the spectrum of the copper and zinc. The lowest level of the copper comes, let's say, to 50, 48, 46, some of it. And then the highest goes to the other dimension. Now you create a magnetic field which is a balance between the coil and the Gans which you have packed. Now see what it could be. This is how it works. If you make a Gans of any material and you want to convey it, you want to transfer its energy, use nano-coated material. Then you work on the superconductor line of the nanomaterial. Make a slight dentation if you want to create the matter level plasma in the frequency of it, 60 Hertz. Then you work, whatever you create in between, you have to understand what you have put in there. It taken us 4 years, 3 years, in a small teaching to get our knowledge seekers to understand they can use a Gans, but you have to have a ratio difference. Put twice as much as one in the other. How do you make it? You want to make it whatever. Take, let's say, 900 milliliter of a bottle, 900 meter balance. Put 300 mil, let's say, copper oxide, 300 meter magnesium oxide, and 300 millimeter whatever else. Mix it. Then put 600 in one side of the packet and 300 in the other side packet. Now you create the transfer of energy across the water, liquid, could be whatever kind of salt you have. Understand the creation of a matter state visibility in the condition of this planet usually happens with the condition of what we call the salt. What is the salt? It means a gravitational field which can hold on to residual water. This is something which a lot of our students have never understood. I've explained this in some teachings, and I thought some people have understood. But those of you who don't understand, or you're new to the knowledge of the plasma. Up to now, man has always used acid condition, which means availability of hydrogen as a giver of energy. When you give, you cannot hold on to. You cannot bring in. The opposite to giving, which is the hydrogen, is to hold, which is gravitational. And in the liquid state of the condition of this planet, the gravitational comes through the oxygen, because it's the magnetic matter in the state of the gaseous and liquid. In the solid matter state, you have iron. In liquid state, and the gas is oxygen. That's why you use and you create CO2, because it holds on to, it brings in the water within the confinement of your container is a gravitational system. That's why you see collection of the matter underneath of it. You collect CO2, you collect the others, because the initial stage of the attraction in the liquid has already been initiated by the oxygen in the water itself. And then what do? You add, let's say, NaCl. Look at it, look at the composition. What does it happen? Hydrogen is one. In the presence of gravitation of the oxygen has no power. But it facilitates the oxygen to be released and the hydrogen to find a connection with Cl in the plasmatic condition. And now the gravitational field becomes heavier and heavier and heavier, and you start collecting matters. So when you use water, and especially with like salt, you create a gravitational system to pull what it's into it. Look how you create CH3. CH3 is a combination of energy releasing combination. Because you look at the CH3, but you got to look at the composition of the metal you put in there as zinc oxide with iron in the center. Start to understand the totality of the knowledge in real fields, not in physicality. That is why when you create a salt condition, you have to see with these ganses I put in here, or Gans and a coil, what kind of salt do I need to be able to pull what I want to pull? What ratio do I need? You don't put 2 and 2 on either side. There is hardly any transfer of field, so you can't collect much. You can't put copper and copper unless you nano coat one, which is now is a different field strength, because now you play with the fields and not the matter. And the salt you have created in the liquid state of the water is the gravitational point for attraction of what is the matter state within that liquid as a field strength that it converts it to the tangibility of the Gans. Many Ganses you produce that you never see, but it's there, because it's like gases. You need confirmation of the visibility, but when you use them, you see the confirmation of the effect. Just because you put a Gans of CO2 and a Gans of CH3, there is nothing at the bottom of the pocket for you to confirm you've done something right. It doesn't mean that at all. It means you have not understood what you created. Because in any condition, when there is a transfer of energy from one to another, it dictates the balancing fields, which is like the cancer between two paths. There you take away. Here, because of the creation of the salt, you manifest the existence. So, open the horizon of the knowledge and understand nothing you do is wrong. The only thing is, you have to understand what have you achieved from what you think was wrong that you didn't understand. Sometimes you make assumptions, sometimes you work, and then you analyze. So if you have a coil, nano-coated, you have a coil, not nano-coated, you have a Gans in one place, and you connect them with the normal wire, understand you have limited yourself to matter state of this planet. Then you get a different effect. You nano-coat, you connect yourself to the fields of this planet. In the future, when you become much wiser in teaching and in learning, you create pipes with a dry Gans or liquid Gans going from one part to another, and then you create a true plasma. But we have to go step by step as you learn more. There's nothing wrong with you putting a coil, nano-coated, and zinc, how you connect it. You have to understand when you connect it to the copper non-coated, you enforce the condition of the fields in the matter state. Then you have a different thing. Then when you do the same thing with a nano-coated wire, you create a different condition between the matter and the plasma. When you use the Ganses as a connection line between the two parts, then you create true plasmatic condition, which is a replication of the body of the man's operation. Then you can use that material for anything you need for your dynamic system for the health.